Hello and welcome to Studio 22. I'm your host, Shelby O'Brien, and today I'm joined by Allie Spear, a junior biomedical science major here at OCU, who is here to talk today about her science classes and a special experiment she is working on right now involving monitoring ant farms. Stay tuned to find out more right after this break. Hello and welcome back to Studio 22. I'm your host, Shelby O'Brien, and I'm joined here with Allie Spear, who's come on to talk about her science classes and some science experiments she's doing currently. So Allie, thank you so much for joining me on the show. So I guess the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is where you're from.
I'm from Bentonville, Arkansas.
Oh, Arkansas, that's cool. So how did you end up at OCU?
I wanted to be close to home, but not too close that my mom could show up unexpectedly. And I really love the program and the small campus that OCU has.
So have you enjoyed your time here at OCU so far?
Yes, I love OCU. I love the environment and the people and just the campus in general.
So other than like science things, what are some of your favorite things to do here at OCU?
I actually do love to go watch the productions that go off like at the dance school and theater school. And then I just like going to basketball games, hanging out at Alvin's, and honestly just being in the community.
Cool. So would you say a lot of your friends are in the science department, or because OCU is so small, would you say you have kind of a variety of different people that you're friends with?
It's definitely a variety. I like to jokingly say that I have my class friends and then my dance school and performance friends, but we definitely intermingle and all have fun together when we can.
Cool, that's super cool. So you said your major is biomedical science?
Yes.
So why did you pick this major?
I am really interested in just learning about Earth and how things work in general, and I want to help people in the future, so.
That's super cool. So freshman year, did you start as a biomedical science major?
No, I actually came in as just a biology major, but found out that the track for that is different than what I wanted to do, so I switched to biomedical science.
And are you happy you made this switch so far?
Yes, it will lead me to a better track for grad school.
Cool. So you're planning on going to grad school after OCU?
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that you are going to plan on sticking with this major for the next 2 years while you're here?
Yes, it will probably help me most to stick with this.
Gotcha. So I don't really know how like the science tracks work. Are there different tracks that lead you to the same job, or are most of them like pretty specific for jobs in the future?
It's a pretty variety. So biology, what I started, is mostly for research and that field.
Mm-hmm.
And then biomedical science, what I'm in, is for PA school, PT school, OT school, and etc. And then there's also cell and molecular biology, which would lead you to medical school.
Cool. So you're kind of combined with those different majors, but they all kind of go separate ways?
Mm-hmm. Like freshman year, you come in and you're basically all taking the same classes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just basically science, gen eds. And then as the years go on, you start to separate into your groups.
Well, that is super cool. We will be right back right after this break. next week to Studio 22 with host PJ Grooms. He will be joined with special guest Romario Spence, a basketball player from London, where we will hear more about his story. Tune in next week to Studio 22. Welcome back to Studio 22. I'm still here with Allie Spear, and we were kind of just talking about her major and how the science department works. So I guess my next question or topic to talk about with you is, what is your favorite class this semester that you're taking?
I think my favorite class this semester is animal behaviors.
Animal behaviors, that's cool. So what do you learn about and study in that class?
Honestly, everything about an animal's behavior. It covers the broad spectrum of how, like, mating, relationships, food, on everything about animal behaviors, and sometimes it even relates it to how humans behave.
That's super cool. So would you say this is your favorite class because of the professor or because more of like the topic of the class?
I would say both. I love the professor. I've had her before. I've done research with her before, and the class is just super interesting because it's things I never would have thought about.
Gotcha. So has the class, because of COVID and everything, has the class been in person to do research, or has it been like through Zoom?
It is a mix of both. We've done in class for labs, and sometimes we even go to the zoo or to a primate sanctuary. And then other times we'll do online and we'll learn how to graph our research, or we'll look at other people's research.
So it's kind of been like a hybrid of going back and forth in and out of the classroom?
Yes.
Gotcha. So is this the class that connects with the experiment that you're going to show us today?
Yes. This class, my professor requires a research project for the end of the year, and it's just 10 hours of research, and the last part is kind of just so we understand how to research and how to do that in our future.
So you said 10 hours. Have you found that's like a long process, or is it not too bad?
I thought it would be kind of a short process, but I found as the weeks go on that it's harder to squeeze it into your schedule, but it's not horrible.
Gotcha. So did you pick your specific research project, or is everyone doing the same thing? How does that work?
Our professor, when we went to the labs, she told us to look at the zoos, look at the animals, and we would practice in the labs about coming up with research questions, coming up with hypotheses, and then eventually she said, okay, now that you've seen all of the animals that you can choose from, come up with one.
Okay, and so then how did your thought process work of picking an animal? Did you know right away what you wanted to do, or was it kind of like difficult?
It was a little difficult for me because I honestly wanted to keep going to the zoo to look at the animals, but I realized that doing something smaller and more on campus would be much easier for me because I wouldn't have to travel as much, and then it was just more accessible for my time management.
Gotcha. So what animal did you end up picking for your experiment or research project?
I ended up picking ants.
Ants. How did you come up with that?
We did a lab experiment with just insects, and I found those were I was the least grossed out by the ants, and they were actually the most interesting to me.
That's super cool. All right, well, we will talk more about the ants and see the ants right after this break. We'll be right back.
No!
Just what do you think you are doing, Dave? I really think I'm entitled to an answer to that question. I can see you are really upset about this. I know I've made some very poor decisions recently, but I can give you my complete assurance that my work will be back to normal. Dave, stop, will you? Will you stop, Dave?
My name is Eric.
I don't work a 9 to 5, but I have a job to do. I don't wear a tie, but I still wear a suit in my court.
My field of work is an average, and my time around the water cooler is limited.
I work overtime, but the payoff is worth it.
I don't work a 9 to 5, but I have a job to do. I'm an OCU athlete.
I'm an OCU athlete.
I'm an OCU athlete.
I'm an OCU athlete.
OCU is smart, fun, cute, driven, so busy, expressive, exciting. But you know this, you go here. OCU is my school.
Oklahoma isn't your room. So don't trash it.
Hello and welcome back to Studio 22. I'm your host Shelby O'Brien and I'm still joined here with Allie Spear. We were just talking about her research project for her animal behavior class, and now we literally have her research project here in front of us. So Allie, can you kind of like walk me through what some of these things are and what your actual experiment is?
Yeah, sure. So overall, I was interested in ants, like I told you before, and through my research, I found that ants, when they die, they actually give off a scent of oleic acid.
Gotcha.
And the ants that are alive will pick up the dead ant and bring it to a specific place, which people have called the ant graveyard.
Oh, interesting.
And one of the researchers that I looked up, he found that if he put the acid on a live ant, the ants couldn't tell that it wasn't dead. So with my research, I got some beads that are the same color as the ants, and I have the oleic acid that I'll use to put on the bead and then place it in the farm and see if the ants will pick up the bead thinking that is a dead ant.
So basically you're taking the beads and trying to see if they'll think they're still an ant.
Yes.
That's super interesting. So what have you found so far by doing this? And also what are some of these other little pieces? Like how do those play in?
This is just a pipette that I use to take the acid and put it on the bead. And then because we have to have a control group where the bead is just the bead itself. So I can't mix the bead with the oleic acid. And And then this is just water because every 2 days ants need to be watered.
Okay. So basically, one of these ant farms is a control and one of them is an experiment group. So with the control group, are there still beads in there? They just don't have the acid on them?
Yes.
And then the other one has the acid. So what have you found so far by doing this? Do they think it's an ant?
So far, there was a little trouble with mine because I found that they can't get up onto the second level anymore. But when they smelt the oleic acid, they started to run around, and then they started to check and touch the graveyards, and they even picked up one of the dead ants that they left in the opposite corner and dragged it to the ant graveyard. But with the control group, they didn't do it. They didn't move for the 30 minutes that I watched them.
So to me, like, I'm just looking at them, it seems like most of these are dead in this one. Compared to this one, more of them are alive. Is there reasoning behind that, do you think?
No, I honestly have no idea. The ice storm could have altered my project because I did not have access to them to be able to feed and water them. So one group may have suffered a little more than the other did.
Oh no. So how much longer does this experiment go? Is there like a time limit with it?
We have to do the 10 hours of research.
Yes.
So I have chosen to go in once a day and just watch one group for 30 minutes and the other group for 30 minutes. And we have until the end of finals week to finish our experiment, to write the research proposal and the abstract and submit what we find.
Gotcha. So as of right now, what are you thinking your final result or saying for this project would be?
I will definitely have to alter my behavioral chart. But I'm thinking that with how they reacted the first time I did it, hopefully they will continue to react that way, and I can write down that their behaviors definitely change when they smell the oleic acid.
Gotcha. So I'm also noticing that on this one, this is the control group, I think, correct?
I believe so.
Okay, this one has a lot of sand on the top level, and that one has less. Do you think there's reasoning behind that? Is that just random?
I believe that is actually the large sand pile up there is one of the graveyards.
Oh.
So considering that more have died in that group, that is a larger graveyard.
Oh no.
That you're pointing to.
Gotcha. So really, this one, they're mostly dead. So, and that's the control group, which is interesting. Because would you have thought that the experiment group would have more dead because of the oleic acid?
Honestly, for a while I was worried about that.
Yeah.
Because during my hour of research yesterday, they all stopped moving.
Oh my gosh.
So I was a little afraid, but after I cleaned out the oleic acid, they started moving again.
Gotcha. Well, I'm going to have to cut you off right there, and we'll talk more about that right after this break.
This is my city. This is where I learn, play, work, eat. This is my city. This is my home.
No, 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 no! Oh!
Just what do you think you are doing, Dave? I really think I'm entitled to an answer to that question. I can see you're really upset about this. I know I've made some very poor decisions recently, but I can give you my complete assurance that my work will be back to normal. Dave. Stop, will you? Will you stop, Dave?
My name is Eric.
Meet Sarah Jane. She got her vision checked at school by Prevent Blindness Oklahoma. Prevent Blindness Oklahoma provides free vision screenings to children in all 77 counties in the state. Without this free screening, Sarah Jane's parents wouldn't know about her congenital cataracts. Because of Prevent Blindness Oklahoma and their screening, Sarah Jane will be seeing clear for years to come. Preserving sight, preventing blindness, making every child's vision count.
Emily Wallenberg here with your campus weather update. There's a flood of news coming out of student publications. Reporters are out and about across campus covering all the latest stories. Stars soccer team is creating some high winds breezing past the competition. There's a 100% chance of stars shining bright. Students are rehearsing on stage for the big production. There's a severe wind gust warning at Abe Lemons Arena. Stars are blowing away the competition. To find out more about OCU, schedule a campus visit today.
Hello and welcome back to Studio 22. I'm your host, Shelby O'Brien, and I'm still joined here with Allie Spear. Allie, we were just finishing up talking about your experiment. Is there anything else you'd like to add that you think our viewers should know about, like the results of your experiment or what you hope to come from it?
I honestly think we covered everything.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess my next question for you is, as a science major here, I'm sure you do a lot of experiments in other classes. Have you had like a favorite experiment you've done in any other class that you think was interesting?
Yes, I went to Costa Rica with the same professor that this class is with, and that class was for tropical biology. And over the semester last year, the fall semester, we learned tropical biology and we came up with another experiment after doing research. And I researched howler monkeys.
Oh my gosh.
And then we flew to Costa Rica over Christmas break, and I was able to research their foraging and their behavior.
That's super cool.
And it was really fun.
Wow. So would you say your focus is animals? Like, are you really into studying animals?
That's what I came into college wanting to do, but no matter how much fun the research actually is, I've decided I don't think I want to do that for the rest of my life.
Okay, so what are you hoping to do after college?
I am going to apply to occupational therapy schools and hopefully go to graduate school to do that.
Cool. So with that, these experiments wouldn't really like relate to that, would they?
Not necessarily. The subject on behavior it's a very broad subject, so it could go to humans, but what I'm doing right now isn't necessarily what I would do for the rest of my time.
So how did you decide then that you were interested in occupational therapy?
I did a lot of shadowing of different types of doctors, different therapies, a lot of different medical fields, including nurses, PAs, but I decided on occupational therapy because I didn't necessarily want to have someone's life in my hands. That terrified me, but occupational therapy helps someone's life improve, so I would still be doing what I wanted to.
So I also know that there's physical therapy and occupational therapy. So what's the big difference there between those?
Physical therapy is more of the gross motor movement, so large movements, your whole body, and occupational therapy is more fine motor movements. So being able to put your shoes and socks on or feed yourself.
So those smaller movements. So how did you decide that you would want to focus on the smaller movements rather than like the big physical therapy?
When I was shadowing, it was really interesting to me how much small movements can impact someone's life.
Yeah.
And I just really loved the things they did. And I do think physical therapy is interesting, but I just loved how the small movements helped more.
So you're just more interested in that. So going back to the grad school conversation, is there a specific grad school you're interested in? Do you want to stay in Oklahoma? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
That's the big question for me lately. Right now, so far, it's either stay in Oklahoma or go to Arkansas, back to home. And I have looked at maybe exploring the country a little more.
Oh, really?
And going farther. I've looked at Florida, Texas, just a broad range. So in the next few months, that's the big thing I'll be deciding.
Gotcha. So then with the grad school program, is that like a 4-year program, or what would your next steps look like in your career?
Occupational therapy is now a doctorate 4-year program. And so I am applying to those, but there also is an occupational therapy assistant program. That is only 2 years. And so that will be sort of my backup plan if I don't get into occupational therapy schools.
Gotcha. So it's just kind of like applying and seeing what happens and going from there.
Yes.
And then after the program, looking for jobs, is that kind of the next step from there?
Yes, probably. I have seen that a lot of programs help integrate you into your own jobs and helping you find where you need to be, but and finding which type of field. So you can go with elderly patients, kids. There's a broad range.
I'm going to have to cut you off, but thank you so much for joining me today, Allie. We'll see you next time on Studio 22.